basically what our light roast is when we criticize someone or something in society, and sometimes we try to do it with love, but sometimes that's hard because y'all make it hard on us to do that. Okay, now people, and I think that with this the court case going around with her and Tory Lanez, for those of you who don't know, Tory, shot at Meg, and some things are coming out in the court cases now, and he's and T, I'm gonna let you sort of get into this and really break it down. But our light roast today has to go to the people who continue to support Tory Lanez in the midst of this man clearly shooting at a black woman. And for our podcast and audio listeners, we actually have a caption on our video telling or talking about what Tory said to Meg as he was shooting at her. And I think this is important because I need y'all to think about why Tory is still a successful artist after he shot at a whole black woman, like shot at, like literally took a gun. And I know he's 4'5", but like that still gives him no right to do that. And I think that the way in which he should pay for shooting at a black woman and attacking someone within our own community, I think his penalty should be higher than what it is, and I think that we should be hurting his pockets, and we haven't. And so anyone who is believing Meg now that some of these court cases are coming out who wasn't before, you ought to be ashamed, because she told you a while ago, and she not even a snitch type of woman. You know what I'm saying? So T, break down a little bit more what's going on with the case and what Tory was telling this black woman as he was shooting at her.
Yeah, and I also even want to extend the light roast too to not only with the people, but I think also with like entities like the Shade Room and Spiritual Word and things like that kind of get their views off of sensationalism, that use their platform to kind of stir discourse, and it becomes misleading. So recently in court, their court case just opened up because people again still didn't believe that Tory had shot at Meg, and no matter that she went to the hospital, that they had the bullet and all of that, like none of that mattered. So at first they had reported on the court case when it first opened up that a LAPD officer was interviewed. She was one of the first witnesses, and she reported that when Tory was shooting at Megan Thee Stallion, that he reportedly said "dance B word." So like as if it was like a movie or something, right? Like I know we've heard that before. So I think that's one piece of information. And that was one of the first things that was reported. And of course, like things like that are going to get a lot of comments, and people are going to talk a lot about that, right? So this was a little earlier in the week that when that was first reported. They were also reporting that there was a gun that was located and that the gun was hot, like warm to the touch, meaning that it had just recently had been fired off. And that he also, I believe, had gunpowder residue on his hands. But then the other piece that I also want to add is that a few days later, the Shade Room and Spiritual Word also then reports from this case that, detectives say that the bullet fragments from Meg's foot cannot be found. So again, that sows some then doubt into the story that they just had got people riled up about. So it's like, okay, let's get them riled up about and make them feel like, yes, Tory's guilty. Let's talk about him, right? But then it's like, okay, let's make this post that like sow some doubt into that. Like, the bullet fragment can't be found. And it sucks because the only source of information is one TMZ report. Like everybody that's reporting on this is coming back to one article. There's no other information out because I believe it's a closed case. So it's like they're just kind of breadcrumbing us and making us kind of like start discourses with little to no information, right? And I think that it becomes frustrating because there's a lot of people like, throw the whole case away. See, this how I knew Meg was lying, blah, 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 blah. But these were also the same people that were quiet when the first piece of information came out. So I think it's interesting because it's obviously coming from Tory's defense attorney. And it shows, I mean, that's what they do. Their job is to sow doubt because you have to be charged with no doubt, right? There's no reasonable doubt in the case. That's how you're found guilty. So in sowing doubt, like, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, we don't know where the bullet fragments are, and people in social media and the general world, it's like, oh, well, of course Meg is guilty because she faked it and it was just glass and blah blah blah. But it's like, was she supposed to keep that in her back pocket? Like, oh, let me take this for evidence and put this in my safe. Like, no, that's the detective's job. That's the police's job. So why would it be her setting him up rather than like a failure of police protocol, right? So I think that these are just things we need to think about when it comes to like this case. I think it's something that we should just kind of know that is happening. So like, one, that this event really took place, because I think a lot of people are like, oh no, she just tried to set him up and ruin his career. But like, Tory Lanez was never that relevant to ruin his career. So like, that I don't understand. But also like, just understanding how the court of law work. Like, that's what a defense attorney is supposed to do. He's supposed to try to blame any and everybody and make anything stick, as long as you don't think that is his client. Because they're also now blaming the best friend, the ex-best friend of Megan Thee Stallion, who they said got in a fight a little bit before that. So again, they're always breadcrumbing, because I think that was another piece of information that came from the case, is that like, oh, they're no longer friends and they were fighting right before. And then she was shot. And oh, Tory Lanez also had a relationship with that woman, so he was trying to protect her. So yeah, it's a lot of hearsay. I think again, we have to wait till more information comes out. But I think that people jumping, especially to Tory's defense, when there's a lot of evidence to prove that he probably did it, and just using little information, little tidbits to be like, oh, he didn't do it. Like, I don't really understand. So yeah, we just kind of want to give y'all an update. I know we've talked about this a few times, but I think that the media sensationalism is really at the heart of it. Because if you can make people angry, we talked about this a while ago. If you can make people angry, they'll comment. If you can generate an emotional reaction, you've done your job as a social media entity, and you're getting your money up. And that's really essentially what they're doing. That's what the Shade Room is built around.
Right. Yeah. And I think to your point, I think that, every, media company or entity that's, reporting on this case has to, be mindful of where they're getting their information from, and like the consequences of these dialogues. Right. So if something is driving your engagement up, that's great. But what narrative are you circulating, or are you allowing to circulate? And is that narrative true? And is that narrative ultimately going to be damning or inaccurate in the long run? And if so, what does that do to the culture? And how is your organization going to feel, or how is it going to look or be perceived after the fact? And so I think that with cases like these, like you said before, T, like we all have to be careful as media entities on how we're reporting on it, because some of the narratives that can be put out there can be super, super dangerous, whether that's the intentions of these media entities or not, right? It's still all of our responsibility. So definitely keep that in mind. But like T said, we're going to be, giving, we might, mention this every now and again as bigger things come up, but to Meg, congratulations on all that's going on. We're sorry that you have to relive this and all the craziness that people or the fans are saying, but you survived. You survived the actual craziness of the incident, so we have faith that you're gonna get through this as well. So shout out to Meg. Tory, brother, get some help, and like any entity supporting Tory, hold him more accountable. Hold him.